Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna. So what do you think about? I see now that this land is not so free and open. What does Samuel mean by this? What does he mean by that?
You mean like
The quote. It was a chapter 8 question for your read strategy. What do you think, Sophia?
After he saw the Indian tribe, he noticed that he cannot go on the land and make it for a while.
Okay.
They cannot live on the land because
The land's already claimed, it looks like, right? Yeah. Bryce, you with me so far? Yeah. Land's already claimed, so this isn't as free and open as he thought it was going to be, especially at the end when the Native Americans attacked. What else did they learn at that particular moment, Connor?
That bows and arrows are faster than their weapons.
Bows and arrows of the Native Americans are a lot more accurate at this point than their musket guns.
Aren't they like the ones where like it's kind of like a bear, like it's thin and it's just like real wide at the end?
Yeah, the musket guns?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also they kind of resemble like cannons where you have to take the musket ball, put it inside the gun, and then stuff it with gunpowder. However, the different the steps are, and then you have to jam it down in there, and then you have to push the button, and then it shoots. But it takes all that time just to fire one musket ball. In that time, how many arrows can a Native American at this point shoot?
Like
Probably a whole lot more than the one musket ball. So again, the Native Americans' weapons may not be technologically advanced, but they sure are more accurate. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and read chapter 9. Aaron, do you have a question?
Why did someone just shoot an arrow at them when they just took a stick or a gun or something and hit it like a baseball bat? Wait, what? Make the arrow go back into them and hit them like a face.
No, I don't know.
What
I'm not sure they had a baseball bat available. I mean, I guess they could have.
They can shoot exactly 2.4.
No, you're gonna read with us, not read strategy wild. I give you time at the end for that. Okay. All right, chapter 9. Everybody's following along. Nobody is writing right now. You're reading along with chapter 9 with us. We're just doing chapter 9 today. Yes, just one chapter today. It is a little lengthy today. Chapter 9. Now falleth every man to work. The council contrived the ford. The rest cut down trees to make place to pitch their tents. Some provide clapboard to relade the ships. Some made gardens and some nets. So that was from William Simon's journal. Have we crossed the wide ocean only to be shot by the natives the minute we set foot in Virginia? We servants gather around our mess pot, but no one eats much. James is crying, sniffling with snot running into his mouth. I want to go home, he whimpers. Richard keeps his eyes cast down. Reverend Hunt said, we'd tell them about the Bible, he says softly. He didn't say they'd want to kill us. Henry slaps him on the back with a loud thwack. You can't believe everything you hear, my boy. Abram's wild eye is vibrating off to the side. I try not to look at him. After supper, I go to find Captain Smith, and he is sitting with his quill and paper writing. Now he can add that we finally landed in Virginia, but that the natives do not want us here. I stand waiting patiently, and he finishes filling a page, blots the ink carefully, then looks up at me. Yes, Samuel? Sir, how will we make a settlement if this is Indian land? Will we have a war? He pats a barrel next to him and bids me to sit down. The men who came back to England from the Roanoke colony wrote about the Virginia Indians. They are interested in trade, and we have brought the things they prize: copper, metal tools, glass beads, needles, mirrors, and such. It will be a delicate balance, but if we can find a piece of land they are not using and come to them in peace with goods to trade, I believe we can settle here without a war. He scratches his beard, thinking, we must do it without a war. There are many more of them than there are of us. That night, as we bed down, I feel the rocking of the ship. I try to imagine that we're still out at sea rather than anchored near this strange new land of Virginia. I wonder if Colin and the other boys at the orphanage were right, that Richard and Reverend Hunt and I will all die here. There's a box we carried with us that was not to be opened until we reached Virginia. It contains the names of the men chosen by the Virginia Company to be our leaders and directions for us from the Virginia Company. Captain Newport gathers the other ship captains and high-ranking gentlemen on the Susan Constant and opens the box. As he reads the names, at first there was no surprises. The men on our council will be Edward Maria Wingfield, John Ratcliffe, Christopher Newport, Bartholomew Gosnold, John Martin, and George Kendall. But when he reads the last name on the list, it causes a big ruckus. That name is John Smith. He is still under arrest, Master Wingfield objects. The fact that he's out of his chains does not mean his name has been cleared. He's a criminal, Captain Ratcliffe declared. They raised such a fuss that Captain Smith is not allowed to become a council member. I think Captain Smith would make a better leader than most of the men on the council, but what I think does not matter. Captain Smith seems determined to stay out of trouble, just as I am, and he accepts the council's decision without a fight. To me, in private, he says, "You will see how quickly they will be begging me for help and advice." Captain Newport reads more of the orders from the Virginia Company. Be careful in choosing a site for the settlement. Go up the river where you can keep a lookout so the Spanish cannot mount a surprise attack. Take great care not to offend the Virginia natives and begin trading with them for food right away. Do not write letters home that say anything bad about the New World. People in England must not hear a single thing that would discourage them from coming to Virginia. A few carpenters and sailors go on shore and put together the shallop, a small boat meant for exploring that we brought with us in pieces. Then a group of gentlemen go off to search for a place for us to settle. The reports they come back with are encouraging. They have met lots of natives and have been welcomed into their villages, invited to eat with them and watch their dances. They say we do not need to fear the natives. When I look at Captain Archer's bandaged hands, I hope they're right. So, why does Captain Smith accept the council's decision to not make him a member? Why does he accept it? Why doesn't he put up a little bit of a fight?
Because they don't feel like think with them and like.
Yeah, he's confident that they're going to need him, just like Connor said. He is super confident that, okay, fine, don't put me on the council. That's fine. But he knows that they're going to come and they're going to want his help or his advice or something.
He's an old wise man.
Old wise man, right. He's pretty confident about that.
Old people are wise.
What are the orders of the Virginia Company in that box? There were the orders. The Virginia Company gave them orders. What were the orders that they have to follow? Aside from the members of the council, what were the orders they needed to follow?
To not send any letters back to England saying
Yeah.
bad stuff about
Why would they be told not to send letters back home that say anything bad about the New World?
They want more people to go there and explore it.
Yeah, they want to make money. I mean, they want people to keep going. They want people to keep venturing over to the New World. So they don't want anyone to be writing letters back that says anything bad about the New World, even if it's terrible. They don't want anyone to say anything bad. Kind of interesting. Bryce?
They're basically
Another order was that they can't open the box until they get to Virginia.
Right. Well, they did. They got to Virginia, so they did open the box, and inside the box had the names of their council members, their leaders. John Smith excluded. I mean, he was included, but they excluded him. And then in the box, it also said, aside from don't say anything when you write letters home, it said, be careful in choosing a site for a settlement. Go up the river where you can keep a lookout. It says basically to stay away from the Spanish. We already know why to stay away from the Spanish. They're kind of like the barbarians of the time period at that time. And they were supposed to begin trading right away with the Native Americans. So that was their orders.
One where they said that you can't say anything bad. They're basically trying to take advantage of.
The people coming in to the New World. Mm-hmm. Virginia Company isn't known to be honest. And neither's Wingfield and Ratcliffe either. So
We're trying to make
Yeah.
so they can actually
you're right.
see how it
And
feels.
isn't
that.
like the one guy, the one that kind of like adopted Sam? His name-
Reverend Hunt?
Yeah. Kind of Christian.
Yeah, he's the pastor. He's the reverend. So yes, he runs like the religious ceremonies and churches and things like that. So his reason for coming to the New World is that he wants to bring Christianity to the Native Americans. That's a historical reason. Like that's been known. That was one of the reasons why they wanted to go to the New World in our history books. So there were multiple reasons why people wanted to go. Sam wanted to go for gold. A lot of the gentlemen wanted to go for gold and riches.
Even though the gentleman already rich.
True. All right, here we go. I'm gonna keep going. What?
Who who is
He's a peasant commoner. Is that what you're asking?
like who's he like helping? Like,
He's John Smith's apprentice.
oh,
He's the servant to John Smith.
Wait, I got another question. So since Captain Smith is in jail, would he still be a prisoner or would he be a peasant?
Captain Smith is considered a commoner.
I know, but just it's because like it's on the back.
No, he's still established as a commoner. Caden?
Wouldn't like from back then, like compared to now, they're actually not.
Probably not. No, because currency has changed since back then. So yes, they probably wouldn't be like. I mean, who knows? If they ranked up with dishonesty, then chances are maybe. All right. They're mapping out the land and water. They say they have found a point of land with deep water all around and named it Point Comfort. They have planted a tall cross at the mouth of the bay where we first landed and named the place Cape Henry. The only discouraging news is that they have seen no signs of survivors from the Roanoke colony. Then finally on May 13th, 1607, 17 days after we first landed in Virginia, our explorers bring us the news we've all been waiting for. They've chosen a place for us to settle. It's a place where the river is deep close to shore, so it will be easy to moor our ships to trees. It's got fresh water from the river, rabbits, squirrels, birds, mussels, oysters, fish, crabs, strawberries, and mulberries. It's safe from the natives because there are none living nearby. We'll also be safe from the Spanish because it's on a peninsula and we'll be able to see any approaching Spanish ships for miles down the river. They named the river the James in honor of King James of England, and our settlement will be called Jamestown. The council votes and selects Master Wingfield as our first president. We sail upstream and moor the ships near our chosen site. They seem small, bobbing in the river beneath towering old trees. Their paint of blue, maroon, and yellow, so rich when we began this journey, is now faded and chipped. They have weathered nearly 5 months at sea, and they show it. As the sun set, I gaze at what will be our new home. There are high bluffs just upstream, but our site has sandy shorelines along the river. The trees wave their branches in the breeze, and a huge gray bird circles, calling out his objection to our presence. We bed down for one last night on the Susan Constant. I lie awake most of the night excited, a bit scared, wondering, waiting for the first rooster crow to signal time to go ashore. The morning of May 14th, even Richard is up and ready before sunrise. I dress quickly and go up on deck to help load the longboat. We pile in as many men and goods as we can, and then the sailors take to the oars and row to shore. When it is my turn, I ride with several of the common men and most of the chicken crates. We unload the crates and set the chickens free to peck around this new world. Real interesting fun fact that you may not have known. The New World, also known as the United States of America, North America, South America, and the New World, they did not have chickens until these guys arrived.
Whoa, that's
Chickens were not part of our resources, natural resources in the New World. England brought chickens over.
We've never had chicken.
England until England came over, until the settlers came over. We never had pigs until the settlers came over. We never had horses until the settlers came over. Native Americans never had horses until the settlers came over.
I've got a question. Did we even have cows?
No cows until the settlers came over.
So what were they?
Do we
Just like
have
Woodland animals,
So we
deer,
didn't have
squirrel,
any-
deer, squirrel, crops. The woodland animals, we had those, buffalo, things like that, but we didn't have any of the English animals until settlers came over.
But what?
You said settlers came over a lot.
I know I did. Okay.
Yeah.
But what about humans?
I wandered off a bit before anyone can give me my next task to do. I go a little way into the forest to look around. The trees are so tall, I feel as if I'm in a cathedral. I breathe in the rich smell of damp earth. The leaves are bright early spring green, and sprinkled along the ground are tiny flowers of white, yellow, and violet. Butterflies and dragonflies add to the riot of color. I'm either in a cathedral or in paradise, I think. Captain Smith finds me and hands me a straw hat and a hatchet and tells me to get to work. We will begin felling. Felling means cutting down. We will begin felling the smaller trees in order to make room for our tents and gardens. James and Richard are assigned to work alongside me. My inclination is to work on my own and ignore them. But would it be so bad to work with them, I wonder? To cooperate? Better than being chained up by Captain Smith again with no slop bucket nearby. I decide to give it a try. I see that it would be best to have one boy bend a sapling, another boy chop it at its base with strong downward strokes, and the third boy to drag the saplings into a brush pile. I clear my throat. Do you want to work together on this? I ask them. I explain my idea. Richard eyes me warily. Don't let him bend a sapling for you, he warns James. He'll let it go and make it snap in your face. I feel like punching Richard, but I know what that will get me. I stomp off to work by myself. Over the next several days, we boys, servants, laborers, sailors, carpenters, and soldiers work as hard as mules. We set up the tents and bring all the bedding ashore for the ships. We dig up the ground and plant the seed wheat we brought with us from England. We tie string in knots to make nets and put the nets in the river to catch fish. We gather mussels and oysters and crabs and bring them to cook. We lug buckets of water from the river for cooking and washing and drinking. We fell some of the big trees and split the logs long ways into planks, making clapboards. We load the clapboards onto the ship so they can be taken back to England to build English houses. We also dig up sassafras roots to ship back to England. President Wingfield says it will sell at a very good price because it is used to make medicine. I'm so tired by the end of each day that sometimes I fall into bed without bothering to take off my shoes. The days are warm and the nights are cool, with the constant sounds of insects and tree frogs lulling us to sleep. Some of the gentlemen pitch in and work hard, but most of them just take turns standing guard, their muskets ready with slow matches smoking. For several days, it seems as if we are all alone in the Virginia wilderness. Then one day, I look up from my hoeing and freeze, afraid to move or even cry out. 2 native men came walking through the forest, quiet as deer. They each had a longbow slung over one shoulder. Open up your book and follow along on page 70. Aaron, sit up. If you need to stand up, then stand up. Halt, shouts one of our gentlemen guards. The Indian men kept coming, and I see our guards prepare to fire their muskets. Wingapo, one of the native men call out. Wingapo? Captain Smith has told me this is their greeting, and it means my beloved friend. The Indians hold up baskets, showing us they have brought us something, and they both smile. There's tall, sturdy men with broad, flat noses and wide lips. For clothing, they wore only a breechcloth, like an apron, and their faces and shoulders are oiled with something that gives their skin a deep reddish color. Just like Richard heard from the sailors, Their hair, jet black, is shaved close on the right side of their heads and grows long past their shoulders on the left side, with a ridge of short hair down the middle. The long side has decorations. One man has shells and the other has the whole wing of a bird dangling from his hair. Our guard approaches them, still carrying their muskets. The taller of the two Indians points to the muskets, then to his longbow. He lays his bow on the ground, motioning to our guards to do the same. I see the gentlemen hesitate, but then they lay down their arms. We gather round the baskets and find ripe red strawberries, purple mulberries, and round loaves of bread made from some kind of coarse meal. It all smells wonderful. Captain John Smith joins us and begins to converse with the men using his hands and words from their language. He gives them glass beads and copper in return for the food they have brought. One of the native men sees me eyeing the bread and he laughs. He breaks a piece off and he hands it to me and nods as if saying, "Go ahead, eat it." I say thank you, even though I know he doesn't understand. The bread is delicious. After that, the natives come to us nearly every day, sometimes 2 men, sometimes 3. They call out Wingapo when they approach our settlement and always bring us baskets of food. The natives are happy, huh? What are you talking about? Oh, okay, yeah, that was me. I did that. I wrote on it, sorry. It was where one of my homerooms stopped one day. The natives are happy with the glass beads and copper we give them. Captain Smith explains to me how copper is rare and precious to them, so it is like gold to the English. And they have no means to make glass, and so the beads with their bright colors are to them like rubies and emeralds and diamonds are to the English. At first, I thought that the Indians were strange to be willing to trade so much food for a few glass beads, but now I see that it's as if they're trading strawberries for rubies and corn for diamonds. One day, Captain Smith surprises us. "I believe the savages are spying on us," he says. "I have watched the way they look around while they're here. I think they're counting our men and seeing where our tents are located and plotting an attack. We have invaded their land, and I believe they will fight us to get it back. We must build a palisade to protect the settlement." "Nonsense," declares President Wingfield. "You see how friendly they are. If we build a palisade, it will look as if we are their enemies. We will build no fortification." What's a palisade? Using your context clues, what is that?
Like a castle.
No, not a castle. Caden?
Is it a palisade like something at the front of the
Yeah, it's like
goes
a
around it?
Is it
And then-
like a berry?
barrier,
Yeah, like a
fort,
probably have like
kind of like a really big fence.
the sharpened stick.
Yeah, you're right. It has the sharpened sticks at the top, sharpened lumber, timber.
So like that?
Yeah, kind of like on the front of the book. There you go. That would be an example of like the palisade. Good check there, Tristan.
Oh, hey, these might be the 2 people.
Okay.
I thought we had
Okay. Captain Smith grumbles, but there is no arguing with President Wingfield, and I think that President Wingfield is right. The Indians have been very friendly and welcoming to us. Captain Smith's suspicion runs like poison through the settlement. What if the natives are spying on us? What if they're planning an attack? How will we protect ourselves with no palisades? The Virginia Company has provided our men with extra weapons and armor. In England, commoners do not carry weapons, but here almost everyone has them. Still, when the weapons and armor were being issued, by the time they got to the last of the laborers and servants, they ran out. Some of us have no protection at all. Those who have armor begin wearing it all day, even when it's hot. Anyone who has a sword or a musket keeps it at their side. Those of us who have no weapons discuss the merits of protective techniques like hiding under a mattress. Their arrows will go right through a mattress, you fool. No, they won't. The straw will stop them. Yes, they will go right through. Won't, will, and so on. On a day filled with bright, hot sunshine, I am digging up a plot, getting it ready to plant more wheat. James arrives with 2 buckets of water hanging from either end of a yoke balanced across his shoulders. So a yoke would be kind of like a big stick, and you've got the buckets hanging. You have like a level bamboo, yeah, kind of like that. It's whatever they would. I wouldn't think they'd have bamboo at that point because that probably wouldn't be a resource they have. So they probably have more like a stick, timber. Yeah.
It would basically be like what they use in Mulan, where
I know
that
that.
hill,
Oh, yeah.
and they're playing the basketball.
Yeah,
The resource would probably be more like timber, but yeah, you're right.
That's what I was
On a field with
He lowers the yoke and sets the buckets on the ground so I can drink, and I take a ladleful and then spit it out. It's salty, I complain, and I glare at him. Has he done this on purpose just to spite me? But he flinches as if I might hit him, and I see the innocent look in his eyes. High tide, he says quickly. It hasn't rained for a while, and the river mixes with the seawater when the tide is up. It'll be better when the tide goes out, or if it rains. That's what Master Percy said. I take another swallow of the salty water, but it only makes me more thirsty. Take it away, I say angrily, and James slinks off. Reverend Hunt has seen our interaction. He comes over to talk to me. Samuel, that poor child is unwanted by his father and despised by his stepmother. You should be able to find more kindness in your heart for him. I hang my head. I know Reverend Hunt is right, but I have been too tired and too thirsty to think about being kind. That night in our tent, there's more discussion about an Indian attack. Henry and Abram talk of making armor for themselves out of wood. Richard and James discuss what they would do if an attack comes. I'm going to run to the ships, says James. I'll row the longboat out to the Susan Constant and hide in the 'tween deck. No arrows can get me there. You are a stupid, stupid boy, I think. I picture him running towards the ship with arrows flying all around and him with no armor. But I don't mock him or tell him he's stupid. I hope Reverend Hunt would appreciate my effort to be more kind.
Come on, let's
Dude,
do
that's
chapter.
chapter 9.
I know, right? All right, let me go ahead and stop. What I want you guys to do, well, first of all, how is this? Let's talk about this real fast. A quick discussion. How is the visit from the natives different from these natives? Different than the ones in the last chapter? How is the difference between them? What's the difference in the interaction?
They were nice.
Okay, can we think of some better terms other than nice?
Nice.
Fifth grade terms, nice. Yes, you're right. Nice. They're nicer. What did they do that made them nicer?
Right?
Caden?
They were trading
They traded food. What did the other Native Americans do?
they shoot arrows.
Yeah, they were shooting them with arrows. So there's definitely a difference there. These Native Americans seem a lot more friendlier. Ethan, sit up. Yeah, they were trading with food, and they seemed to be coming every day with bundles of food. But Captain Smith was, what's the word we're looking for? Suspicious. He was suspicious about the Native Americans. What is he suspicious about them? What makes him, I worded that wrong. What makes him suspicious towards the Native Americans? What do you think? What's going on?
Since I noticed that the guy said that in the book. He said that he knew that he couldn't understand it. Oh,
I don't.
like
What?
as in, like he's.
Well, the communication is definitely a barrier, but that's why John Smith's there.
Captain Smith can like.
John Smith seems to know a little bit more of that. What do you think?
He thinks they're spying on him.
He thinks they're spying. So what does he suggest, Ethan? What's he suggest to do?
He suggests to build a castle.
Well, they don't use the word castle. They use palisade. And of course, Master Sophia, why did you do that?
Because it's better.
No. Sophia, palisades. I lost my train of thought. Sit down. Just sit down. We're not going to sit here and play with the lights. It would have been better if the lights were on since this is recording.
Oh, it is?
It's been recording, dear.
Oh, I thought you lost it.
So palisades. The president said what?
No, that's silly because then they'll think we're
Then they'll think that we're right.
I'm done with.
Maybe
Right.
the food's poisoned.
All right. Chapter 9 question is on your journal. It says, how can the settlers and the natives find the balance that Captain Smith talks about? You are using the read strategy for this one. sometimes, but you're using the read strategy. So chapter 9, read strategy. I'm going to stop.